Alright, what's going on, gamers? It's good to see you. Thanks for pulling up this video, however you did. I'm your one and only favorite emperor, Lord Cornwall. I like to play games. I'm just starting out my Twitch channel, so if you're watching this video, this is one of my first videos, so thank you again for watching. So what I'm going to do is stream for an hour or two, not really sure, and play some Hearthstone standard ladder climb. I forget which gold tier I'm at. The highest I was able to get was almost a platinum. Almost a platinum. So I feel like I have a pretty good deck now, a good handle on how to play it. So I want to try to do some climbing, get to platinum, and potentially to diamond, and maybe beyond with enough practice. So I'm a decent player, but it's learning how to the finer points of when to play what is what I'll need to develop over time. So anyway, the first thing I want to do for a few minutes is talk about basically the deck that I'm using, the strategy, you know, the main ideas behind it, the win conditions, and then I'll talk about each card individually, and I'll discuss the interactions between them so that you can kind of get an idea of how at least I've been playing them off each other, and you know, different combinations and play orders and things like that. And of course, if you're watching this and you see any, if you're looking at any comments and anything like that, feel free to let me know if there's something you think I should take out, replace, if you have any suggestions, if you think of any combos that maybe I haven't thought of in my video here. Would love to hear from you and your thoughts, especially if you're a much more experienced player. So, alright. So, the main point, the main win condition, the main target of this deck is Tickatus. That's why the name of this deck is Delete Opponent Deck. Our goal is to delete the opponent's deck. So that's the primary goal, is to corrupt Tickatus and play him. And the second goal, which is, so that's 1A, and then 1B, is we want to duplicate Tickatus as many times as possible. And now what do I mean by that? Well, once you corrupt him and you play him, you remove 5 cards from your opponent's deck. Later on in the game, you can play Yasarj, and then he will give you a corrupted Tickatus, as long as you corrupted it when you played it the first time. If you didn't corrupt Tickatus when you played him, you won't get him with Yasarj, so keep that in mind. But the idea is once we play Yasarj, we get another Tickatus. So we can delete another 5 cards out of somebody's deck, which 10 cards out of a 30 card deck, that's really stupid. I kind of feel like they might nerf this this Tickatus stuff before long, because that's an incredible amount of cards to delete from somebody's deck. So anyway, I'm gonna abuse it while the getting's good, you know what I'm saying? So now what do I mean by multiply the Tickatus more as many times as possible? Well, we're getting one here, and we're getting one here. Where else? Well, we've included this card right here, Philosophy. And it copies the lowest cost demon in your hand. So as long as you can get Tickatus in there with no other minions that are equal to or less than him, you can cast Philosophy and grab yourself another Tickatus. And so now potentially what you could do is play 2 before Yasarj if you duplicated him. Delete 10 cards from somebody's deck. And then the next turn you play Yasarj and you play 2 more Tickatus and delete another 10 cards out of somebody's deck. It's conceivable you could delete 20 cards out of somebody's deck. It's absolutely insane. So I like it because it's effective against a lot of different deck types. Because whatever they're putting in their deck, you know, whether it's special Cthuns and legendaries, you know, cards that they really need to pull off their combos. I've had people quit because, alright, I just deleted half your Cthulhu pieces, so no more Cthulhu for you. So corrupting Tickatus and going after people's decks is really, really a great strategy, and I really like it. So again, main focus, corrupt Tickatus and duplicate him and use him as many times as possible. Destroy your opponent's deck. Alright. So now we'll talk about kind of each card, and I'll kind of bounce around with what the card does and interactions. I'll try to focus on just one card at a time and go through them one at a time. So let's begin with philosophy. So again, we're going to look into use this to copy Tickatus, but don't be afraid to use it on another demon to duplicate if there's an emergency, if you absolutely have to have another minion. So in addition to duplicating Tickatus, you could duplicate the Minari Masher, which is a very good idea in many situations. Adding this extra 3 attack and a lifesteal to a minion can, if you get a hit with a good minion on it, can provide you 7, 8, 9, 10 health at least in this deck. It's just a massive amount of health regeneration. So duplicating that sometimes can really get you that extra health over the hump if you're not getting the other healing from the rest of the parts of the deck that I have set up. If you duplicate Fire Breathers, you can have a whole bunch of wave clear. 2 damage to all minions. You can do that twice. If you've got Soul Fragment Void Drinkers, you can duplicate those. And then Aranasi Broodmothers, you may not want to duplicate, but if you need another minion and you're desperate, like I said, you can. So I run 2 in the deck. You could conceivably run 1. But I like to have 2 so that I can potentially have 1 for another minion and still have 1 for Tickatus. So that, if I've got 1 and buried in the deck somewhere, that's probably unlikely I'm going to get it with this guy at the same time. So, alright. And also, don't worry about the outcast. The +1/+1 is nice, but it's not really necessary. Don't worry about trying to land the outcast bonus. Just focus on copying the demon in your hand that you need when you need it. That's more important. Alright, Spirit Jailers are pretty self-explanatory. I put Soul Fragments in my deck for healing as you're working through. They're good level, 1-drop minions. Acidic Swamp Ooze. And so probably some of you are like, oh. So the reason I run this is because there are a lot of people out there running weapons in different builds. And shamans, you've got the evolved weapons that are hella annoying. Warriors have those new weapons where they shovel bombs into your deck. Those are annoying. Demon hunters will obviously run builds with weapons. Hunters have a couple of weapons, not really as much as before. And then, who's another class? Paladin sometimes uses weapons. So, but some weapons are just absolutely incredible for certain classes, and having the ability to just destroy that is just such a game changer, especially for shamans. I've seen so many shamans, and you get owned by that that evolve attack with the weapon, and he just evolves everything into, a gargantuan overlord set. So I run 2 Acidic Swamp Ooze. If you want to run 1 in your deck, you can. But I like to have 2 in there just to make sure I have it in the deck, and hopefully if I need it, I'll get it. So that's the idea. Canrathad. This is a nice little addition that comes in really handy. For one thing, the demon cost reduction is nice, but you can pair that with Tickatus. So you can summon Canrathad, and he'll be a 5-cost minion. And conceivably, if you had something else that cost 6 or more, you could corrupt him while his mana cost is a little bit cheaper. So just be careful with this and the fire breathers, because they will blow up Canrathad because he's not a demon. And once you get Canrathad Prime into your deck, the demon summons that it can bring out are very, very great. I mean, you could be, bringing out fire breathers, bringing out these minions again. Is 3 of them all at once, in addition to Canrathad Prime, is a pretty big load up on the board. So I like Canrathad. You can drop him as a 2-2 just in case you need him, and just be careful if you get silenced, obviously, but that is what it is. So I use Soul Shear and Dark Skies as my minion removers. They're pretty straightforward. I use Soul Fragment, Soul Shear. For Free Admission, this card is similar to Sense Demons, but instead of drawing 2 demons, you draw 2 minions, so it can be any minion type. And if they're both demons, then you get a little cost reduction. Now, in the deck that I'm using, there's a few extra minions that are not demons. So I have 2 Swamp Oozes, Canrathad, that's 3. Let's see, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 minions in my deck that aren't demons. So sometimes I don't get the cost reduction. It's usually not a huge deal. A 3-drop getting me a couple of extra minions keeps the game going. Usually if I don't get the bonus, at least I'll get some minions that I'll be able to keep me going. Free Admission really works best when you get the demon cost reduction and you get Tickatus. And so he will be a 4 mana demon, which is absolutely outrageous. And then you could corrupt him with a Void Drinker or an Arnausi Broodmother in addition to these higher level cards. So dropping stuff like that, getting the Free Admission early, that's so much fun. You're always going to have fun with that. Alright, so we talked about the Minari Moshers. You use those for lifesteal. Cascading Disaster, obviously, destroy minions. You corrupt them to destroy more. Do not cast these until you've corrupted them, unless it's absolutely necessary. Because if they are not corrupted when you cast them, when you play Yasarj, they will not, you will not get copies of those because you didn't corrupt them beforehand. So you need to corrupt them at least once or twice, preferably twice, but at least once, so that when you get it back with Yasarj, you'll be able to get it back actually when you play her and have it at 0 cost. Fire Breathers, straightforward minion clears. When you're playing demon hunters and warlocks, they'll have a lot of demon minions, so remember, you drop this, it's not going to do any damage to them. Sometimes you may forget that. Void Drinkers are good. 5 mana drop for a 4/5 isn't bad, and if you've got a Soul Fragment in your deck, it's even higher. And then when you get Free Admission with a Void Drinker and you're getting like a 3 mana 7/8, I mean, that can be pretty outrageous. These guys are pretty self-explanatory. Make sure if they're in your hand when you mulligan to put them back in the deck, because you won't get the bonus of drawing them with health. So make sure if you're getting them in the beginning of the game before you're drawing your first cards, make sure you put that back. Tickatus, we know about him. Sociologist Militia. So for the Soul Fragments I'm using in my deck, I'm not using the Shadowlight Scholar. I don't like destroying the soul fragments. It's not a very powerful card to me. And I don't like School Spirits either, because it's not very that doesn't do very much damage compared to other things that are available. The soul fragments are nice, but these two spells is not necessary. The 3 mana cost just really isn't worth it for me. So typically when I'm summoning Sociologist, I'm summoning it with 2, 3, 4 fragments at least, if not more. Summoning a couple of Spirit Jailers and putting all this out will put several soul fragments in there. And so typically when I'm dropping Sociologist Militia, I'm pulling out several souls, and that can be a huge benefit and clear out some board. Archwitch Willow. So I'm running her right now. I don't know if I'm gonna keep her or not. It's a little touch and go, because the problem with her is that when you play her, if Tickatus has not been played yet, no matter if he's in your hand or your deck, there's a chance that she will summon him. And obviously we do not want that. The Tickatus is the whole point of the deck we're making. So we gotta corrupt that and play that correctly. So use this carefully. If you got Tickatus in your hand, or if you have a whole bunch of demons in your hand, or a whole bunch of demons still in the deck, you can, potentially get away with it. But the best thing to do would be corrupt Tickatus, play it, and then play this as one of the enders of the game, because you can summon Tickatus with Archwitch Willow, because with Canrithag, she died. Alright. And then Fel Lord Bertrug, I like to have him as one of the higher cost monsters. Some people use like these Dreadlords, and I don't like them. They're really high cost for that amount of stats. And the little 5/5 Lifesteal Dreadlord, when it pops out, typically when they're blowing up this minion, they're just going to kill that Dreadlord still too. And if you blow it up on your turn, it has Summoning Sickness, so you can't attack with it right away. So I just don't find it very worth it at all. I like Fel Lord Bertrug. He has the same stats as the Dreadlord, and his ability can be helpful. You draw a Tickatus or one of these minions, you get a nice free one to attack somebody with. So couple of Twisting Neithers to completely clear out the board when that's necessary. And then Yasarj is one of our final enders. Again, you have to corrupt the card, or Yasarj will not give it to you when you summon him with the battle cry. For the Cascading Disaster especially, you have to corrupt them, or you will not get them again from Yasarj Battlecry. In addition to Tickatus, you can't, if you play him without corrupting him, or you lose him, you won't be able to get him back. So you have to make sure that you corrupt him and play him. And remember, our main goal is to duplicate him as many times as possible with Philosophy and Yasarj. Just summon as many as possible as we can, and then use Yasarj at the end and summon even more. Just completely delete our opponent's deck. That's our goal. I think that's all of the explanation I was going to give for the deck. I'll cut this into a smaller video later, just to have an overview of what I'm using and why I'm using it. And then now let's go ahead and get into some gameplay and lose some games.